In discussing genetics, it is first important to recognize how genes are passed from parents to offspring. Mendel's laws of heredity explain how traits are divided and expressed. The law of dominance states that the phenotype of a heterozygous organism represents only the dominant trait. The law of segregation states that alleles of genes divide so that each gamete only has half of the number of alleles needed for the trait. The law of independent assortment describes that when genes separate, they do so individually, meaning that traits are distributed singly. The law of dominance refers to complete dominance genes, in which there are dominant and recessive alleles, as was the case in Mendel's early experiments which tracked the color of pea plant flowers. If the genotype of two parents is known, the genotypes of their offspring can be predicted using Punnett squares. In a monohybrid cross, 4 boxes are used to predict the outcome of one trait. In dihybrid crosses, 16 boxes are used to predict 2 traits simultaneously. In complete dominance genes, recessive traits skip generations when a dominant allele is inherited, masking the recessive trait with the dominant phenotype. The recessive trait may, however, reappear in future generations if 2 recessive alleles are inherited. Parents with a dominant phenotype can produce offspring with the recessive phenotype if both were heterozygous, but it is impossible for 2 parents with a recessive phenotype to produce offspring with the dominant phenotype because neither possesses the dominant allele to pass on. For this reason, while normally used to predict the traits of offspring, Punnett squares can also be used to determine the genotype of an organism with the dominant phenotype. In a test cross, the unknown organism is bred with an organism that displays the recessive phenotype, and the phenotypes of the offspring are observed. If any of them has the recessive trait, then the organism in question must be heterozygous. As such, traits governed by complete dominance are easily tracked. There are other types of genes, however, that are not expressed this way. Both incomplete and codominance results in a unique heterozygous phenotype. In the former, it appears as a blend of the 2 original traits, while the latter shows both original traits, often in a regular pattern. Some traits are even more complicated. Polygenic traits are determined by multiple genes. Examples of such include height, hair color, and skin tone. There are also sex-linked traits, which are inherited via sex chromosomes. Males have 1 X chromosome and 1 Y chromosome, while females have 2 X's. As such, sex-linked traits are expressed more often in males than females because they only have 1 X chromosome, so they only have to inherit 1 allele for the trait in order for it to be expressed, while females must get both alleles for the trait. Because of this, females can be carriers, meaning that they have 1 allele for the trait, so can pass it on but do not express it. An example of a sex-linked trait is red-green color blindness.